This is Voice of Korea.
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 Now we begin the English language transmission from Pyongyang, the capital of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
When I present a mixed chorus, song of General Kim Il-sung. Here is a meal, chorus, song of General Kim Jong-Il.
Listening to Voice of Korea News Now. In respect to Kim Jong-un's famous work, The Great Kim Il-sung is the eternal leader of our party and our people, was recently published in booklet by the Dandong Longshan Printing House of China, and his work let us march forward dynamically towards final victory, holding higher the banner of Sun-gun by the Central Committee of the New Communist Party of Britain, the Hkadaha Printing and Publishing House of Indonesia, and the Gavdruk Publishing House of Poland. Publishing ceremony was held in Indonesia.
The full text of the historical report made by respected Kim Jong-un at the March 2013 plenary meeting of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea was carried by the Russian newspaper Patriot and its detailed gist by the Iranian newspaper Iran News on the 8th. The newspapers printed photos of Kim Jong-un.
A seminar and a reading session on respect to Kim Jong-un's famous works. The Great Kim Il-sung is the eternal leader of our party and our people, and let us march forward dynamically to his final victory, holding higher the banner of Sun-gun, were recently held in Peru and Guinea. Present at the events were many people, including personages of the Group for the Study of Kim Il-sungism, Kim Jong-ilism, the Committee for Remembering Generalissimo Kim Jong-il, and the People's Front of Workers, Peasants, and Students of Peru, the Guinean Group for the Study of Kim Jong-ilism, and the Guinea-Poland Electronic Project Joint Venture Company.
Foreign newspapers recently featured the Day of the Sun, the birth anniversary of the great leader President Kim Il-sung, the 20th anniversary of the great leader Kim Jong-il's election as chairman of the National Defense Commission of the DPRK, and the first anniversary of respected Marshal Kim Jong-un's election as the supreme leader of the Workers' Party of Korea and the DPRK. The Indonesian newspaper International Media printed a portrait of smiling Kim Il-sung, and the Russian newspapers Narodnitsky Rabochi and Patriot No. 13 photographs of Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-un. The Bulgaria-Korea Friendship Association released a special issue of its bulletin on the occasion of the Day of the Sun. The bulletin printed a portrait of a smiling President Kim Il-sung.
The United Confederation of Koreans in Far East Russia held an event in Narkotica on the 11th to celebrate the Day of the Sun, the birth anniversary of President Kim Il-sung. Hung on the front wall of the venue of the event were portraits of the great Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-Il bearing sun-like smile. Present at the events were officials of the maritime territorial organizations of the Confederation and Koreans of different sections. Invited there were the Consul General of the DPRK in Narkotica and his staff members. The participants laid flower baskets and bouquets before a full-length picture of the great Generalissimos Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-Il and paid homage to them. A letter to respect to Kim Jong-un and a gift from the Autonomous Society of Korean National Culture in Ussurisk City, sent on the occasion of the Day of the Sun, were conveyed to the Consul General. The participants appreciate the Korean documentary dealing with the revolutionary activities of Kim Jong-un, who led the work to strengthen the People's Army.
DPRK weightlifters who achieved a brilliant success in the 2013 World Junior Weightlifting Championships laid bouquets before the bronze statues of the great Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il on Mount Hill and made a bow to them on Tuesday.
Che Ryong-hae, director of the General Political Bureau of the Korean People's Army, made a field survey of the victorious Fatherland Liberation War Museum and the cemetery of fallen soldiers of the People's Army under construction on the occasion of the 60th anniversary of the victory in the Fatherland Liberation War. After looking around different places of the construction sites, he took measures to resolutely carry out the order of the respected Supreme Commander Kim Jong-un.
Grouping separate performances of the 3rd April Spring People's Art Festival were grandly given at the theaters, concert halls, and assembly houses in Pyongyang on the 16th. They were enjoyed by working people of different sections, youth and students in Pyongyang, overseas Koreans, and foreigners. Different echelons of art organizations and art troupes of overseas Koreans gave performances at the Modern Dong Theater, the Pyongyang Kim Won-gyun Conservatory, and at the theaters, concert halls, and assembly houses in Pyongyang.
DPRK weightlifters won 7 gold medals and 4 silver medals in the 2013 World Junior Weightlifting Championships and returned home on Tuesday. They were warmly welcomed by Moon Kyung-duk, Secretary of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea, and officials concerned at the Pyongyang railway station. Pyongyang citizens warmly welcomed them, who demonstrated the honor of Sungun Korea in the streets. That day, the weightlifters had a press conference at the Kim Il-sung Stadium. Present there were reporters in Pyongyang.
DPRK Doctorate of Philosophy was awarded to Geng Yeogami, Secretary General of the International Institute of the Church Idea. The awarding ceremony was held at the Monthly Assembly Hall in Pyongyang on the 16th. Present on the occasion were officials concerned and delegations and delegates of the Church Idea study organizations. Decision of the DPRK State Commission for conferring degrees and titles was read out. The Doctorate of Philosophy was awarded to Geng Yeogami on the occasion of the 101st birth anniversary of the great leader President Kim Il-sung in appreciation of his contribution to explaining and proving the validity of respected Marshal Kim Jong-un's idea and theory.
The DPRK team defeated the Mongolian team 8-0 in the preliminary games of Group H for the 2013 Asia Under-14 Football Championships held in Hong Kong, China on the 16th. It will have the last game with the Chinese Macau team on the 17th. In the previous games, the DPRK team defeated the Chinese Hong Kong team 5-0 and the Japanese team 3-1.
The DPRK team defeated the team of the United Arab Emirates 5-3 in the first day games of the World Men's Ice Hockey 3rd Grade Championships on April the 15th. The championships will be held in all league matches until April the 21st, with the participation of the DPRK, the United Arab Emirates, Greece, Ireland, Luxembourg, and South Africa. Winner of the championships will go up to Group B of the 2nd grade.
Foreigners and overseas Koreans participating in the 15th Kim Il-sung Festival visited Mangyongdae, the birthplace of President Kim Il-sung. They also looked around the venue of the festival, the International Friendship Exhibition House, the National Gift Exhibition House, the Pyongyang Folklore Park, and other places.
An international exhibition delegation of the Ministry of Oil Industry of the DPRK left Pyongyang by air on Tuesday to participate in the 18th International Exhibition of Oil, Gas, Refining and Petrochemistry to be held in Tehran, the capital of Iran.
A spokesman for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the DPRK gave a statement in video on Tuesday. The statement said, "Recently, high-ranking officials of the United States talk about dialogue in succession," and continued, "but it is nothing but a cunning trick of the United States to pretend to desire dialogue restraining military action, and thus evade the responsibility for the aggravated tension running to the brink of war." The United States threw in large quantities of latest hardware, inciting military confrontation with the DPRK, and got the benefits of greatly strengthening its military deployment according to its strategy of attaching importance to Asia-Pacific. At this moment, too, it is moving nuclear carrier striking flotillas to the operational waters of the Korean Peninsula, persisting in the DPRK 10-minute nuclear war exercises. It is a consistent stand that dialogue must be based on the principles of respect of sovereignty and equality. So long as the United States does not give up its hostile policy and nuclear threat and blackmail against the DPRK, genuine dialogue is possible only when we have a sufficient nuclear deterrent force to deter the nuclear war threat of the United States. Unless the United States puts an end to the nuclear war exercises and pulls back all the aggressive arms and equipment, our self-defensive military countermeasures will continue to be intensified, the statement stressed.
The General Bureau for Central Guidance to the Development of the Special Zones made public a memorandum under the title, "The South Korean authorities can never escape from the responsibility for the crisis of the Kaesong Industrial Zone," on the 16th, concerning that the Kaesong Industrial Zone has been turned into a hot spot of confrontation with fellow countrymen and dangerous hotbed of war due to the hostilities and war moves of the United States and the South Korean puppets against the DPRK. The memorandum exposed in detail how the Kaesong Industrial Zone came into being, and that the work in the zone is in crisis owing to the Lee Myung-bak regime and the present conservative regime.
The People for Peace and Reunification, the Seoul Solidarity for Unification, and the People's Action for Peace Against War in South Korea held press conferences in Seoul on the 12th as regards the visit of the U.S. Secretary of State to South Korea. The organization said the U.S. hostile policy towards the DPRK is a fundamental cause of aggravated military tension of the Korean Peninsula, and urged the United States to discontinue the joint military exercises and come out to dialogue for conclusion of a peace agreement without condition. On the other hand, the Public Transport Trade Union, the trade union of government employees and other organizations under the South Korean Confederation of Trade Unions, held a press conference in Seoul on the 11th to form the headquarters of joint struggle for winning the basic rights to labor, checking privatization, and strengthening public character in the public views of the Confederation of Trade Unions.
The Switzerland-Korea Committee and the Swiss Group for the Study of the Juche Idea recently issued a joint statement in support of the line on simultaneously promoting economic construction and nuclear arms build-up, advanced at the March 2013 plenary meeting of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea. The long-lived General Kim Jong-Il get-together in Benin and the Beninese National Committee for the Study of the Juche Idea recently made public a joint statement in support of the special statement of the DPRK government, political parties and organizations.
The Indonesian newspaper Sipatau Indonesia on April the 10th gave an account of the Korean people's struggle to defend the country under the title, "To Defend Sovereignty." And that's the end of the news, read by Kim Hyun-ok and Choi Jong-nam. This is Voice of Korea.
The Daily Rodong Sinmun of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea carried a commentary on Wednesday under the title, "Unpardonable Wrongdoings." The commentary said the senseless acts of the South Korean puppets, viciously challenging the dignity of the supreme leadership of the DPRK, have reached the climax and continued. Not resting content with their vicious slander of the celebrations of the Day of the Sun, in which the echo of boundless reverence and praise of the whole nation and the world progressivists shook the sky and earth, the South Korean puppets instigated gangsters to hold an anti-DPRK meeting in the heart of Seoul and dared to burn the portraits, a symbol of the dignity of our supreme leadership. The unpardonable outrages show that the South Korean puppets are not talking about dialogue and the like, but it is no more than a trick to cover up their ambition for confrontation and escape from the responsibility for the grave situation. The responsibility for the imminent situation rests entirely with the South Korean rulers, chief criminals who slandered and hurt the dignity of our supreme leadership, the commentary stressed. That was the commentary under the title, Unpardonable Wrongdoings, carried in the daily Rodong Shinmun of the DPRK on Wednesday. This is Voice of Korea. Here is Emil Carlos. We will defend General Kim Jong-un at the cost of our lives.
This time we present the song Red Flowers of Revolution Are in Full Bloom from the revolutionary opera The Flower Girl, which was adapted from the immortal masterpiece of the same title.
festival. This time represents some of the recorded programs of the 3rd April Spring People's Art Festival, underway in the capital city Pyongyang on the occasion of the Day of the Sun, April the 15th, the birth anniversary of the great leader President Kim Il-sung. First, female solo, "Oh, the Unforgettable Dawn," When We Say the Leader, sung by the South Pyongyang Provincial Art Troupe. Next, flute duet. We are singing The Seasonal Flowers of Revolution, performed by the Jong-Un Provincial Art Troupe. Lastly, female quintet. Fruit trees planted on the margins, sung by the South Hamgyong Provincial Art Troupe. You've been listening to some of the recorded programs of the 3rd April Spring Paper Science Festival. This is Voice of Korea. Honor bring your female soul in Pangchang. The Song of the Sun will be model. Please appreciate a female quartet with a single heart. Dangerous movies of filming aggravation of attention. The South Korean warmongers conducted a larger-scale joint firepower exercise against the Democratic People's Republic of Korea on the east coast of South Korean Gangwon province on April the 9th, with the mobilization of Shoshi hardware of the ground, naval, and air forces, including K-9 self-propelled guns and destroyers. They kicked off war hysteria, ridiculously talking about strong warning to provocative threat and rout. The large-scale three-dimensional fire play that synchronized with the frantic Fall Eagle joint military exercises in South Korea is a very dangerous move for the filming of the aggravation of tension. The United States and its followers are trading on explosive choices with illegal sanctions and adventurous war exercises against the DPRK under the pretext of its peaceful satellite launch and self-defensive underground nuclear test. Some time ago, the United States seriously threatened the DPRK, sending B-52 and B-2A strategic bombers, F-22 stealth fighters, and other striking means to South Korea in succession. The U.S. imperialists dispatched even nuclear aircraft carriers to the waters around the Korean peninsula. The South Korean stooges, regarding the present situation of the Korean peninsula as a golden chance to realize their ambition for invasion of the North, persisting provocative fire jumpers almost every day, in league with their master U.S. imperialists. The recent joint firepower exercise is part of them. The recent exercise conducted by the South Korean military on the East Sea of Korea clearly proves that the adventurous scheme of the United States and the South Korean warmongers to trigger off a nuclear war in the Korean peninsula under the pretext of coping with the provocation of the North has already entered the stage of practice. The press heads of the South Korean military spit out desperate war outbursts every day, talking about immediate punishment and practical retaliation. It is a manifestation of the frantic ambition of the South Korean warmongers to trigger off a nuclear war with the backing of the United States. Now that a nuclear war in the Korean peninsula has become a fait accompli by the United States and the South Korean stooges, it is too natural that the self-defense deterrent of the DPRK should turn into practical military action to resolutely foil the enemy's vicious aggressive moves against the DPRK. The moment the enemy provokes the DPRK with a senseless act, a powerful fatal nuclear attack will reduce everything of the enemy to ashes. The South Korean puppets must bear in mind that the warning of the DPRK is not an empty talk, and the provocateurs will get nothing but merciless punishment. That was an account entitled Dangerous Moves of Failing Aggravation of Tension. This is Voice of Korea. In a prisoner be solo, whoever provokes us can never escape this.
Dear listeners, with this we conclude the English language service of Voice of Korea from the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Voice of Korea presents its English language service for Southeast Asia between 5 and 6 hours UTC on 13,650 kHz and 15,105 kHz, and between 10 and 11 hours UTC on 11,735 kHz and 13,650 kHz. For Middle East and North Africa, between 16 and 17 hours UTC, on 9,890 kHz and 11,645 kHz, and between 19 and 20 hours UTC, on 9,875 kHz and 11,635 kHz. For Southern Africa, between 19 and 20 hours UTC, on 7,210 kHz and 11,910 kHz. And for Central and South Americas, between 4 and 5 hours UTC, on 11,735 kHz, 13,760 kHz, and 15,180 kHz. And between 10 and 11 hours UTC, on 11,710 kHz and 15,180 kHz.